My name is Mika Vandersall, and I have been serving on the Network's task force working group of the transition team. And I tell you that I come to you as a convert. Before working with this group and watching the transformation take place through the transition team, I, like so many others, was not sure of why we had a synod minus a few constitutional reasons. But through this plan that's before you, and in specific through the flexible and innovative ways that we can gather and cultivate people, congregations, and presbyteries through our networks model, I have found great hope for the ways that we might be able to, with God's help, re-energize, invigorate, and heal the church. I find hope for truly getting behind models of ministry which acknowledge God's presence in the world and nurture the acknowledgement and response to that presence through innovative ways of being church with each other. Never before would I think I would be standing before you with the belief that through the synod we might be given the chance to renew and reform our denomination. I'm so excited about this work because we will together infuse resources to the grassroots, making those roots hold stronger to our foundation. We have attempted to do this in the past through the PPGs, and this has had various levels of effectiveness throughout the years. What's different about our model is that we will depend on talented staff, yet to be named, to infuse these resources, act as encourager and supporter and cheerleader to our networks. They will help people in congregations and presbyteries connect to each other who hold similar concerns and passions and joys. We're interested in this model providing pathways to people, congregations, and presbyteries who hold common experience or interest to gather, learn from each other, alleviate loneliness, and share with the rest of the Synod regional community how they have become stronger and given witness to Christ in their midst. We are a relational people. As we learn in 1 Corinthians 12, all parts of Christ's body are necessary to create the whole. We need each other, and we need others who we don't even yet know exist. The hope is that the system and structure that we have put in place will allow us to find each other and experience Christ's body in each other. While the fact that we need each other is not an experiment, how we will gather is. I will not read our entire document because you have it before you, but will tell you briefly now about the intention behind it. We trust that the gathering networks will know how to choose their own leadership. We put flexible systems in place to allow for networks to come together and disband. There's a simple application to be filled out to become a network. Communication standards will be set in place between the networks and the Synod, and they are not constructed for more than a 2-year period, in which case they can easily reapply. This process will be cultivated and encouraged by the staff, whose job it will be to help people and entities know each other, to dream together, and approach the Synod as a resource to assist in the ministry. These systems and structures of accountability, both to and from the Synod, and of the members to each other, can change depending on need. Resources, both financial and of prayer and of personnel, will be necessary to encourage the location of and mission of these networks meetings, as well as the communication of their learnings together. The staff person who is deployed to resource them will be responsible for coordinating these resources. We have great hopes for what might develop out of the gatherings of networks. We can't yet totally envision what might come out of them, but some ideas that I've had are in sharing their experiences through writing or curriculum building, conferences, mentoring new leaders, supporting innovative and entrepreneurial models of ministry. They will hopefully help all of us gain better perspective on the possibilities before us and the places that God is already working, but yet we cannot see. We have so much richness within our Synod that together is so much stronger than when we are isolated in our own selves. We are connectional in our DNA, and we see the support of establishing structured networks as a way to strengthen this connectional identity and richness.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Cruzy, teaching elder in Hudson River Presbytery, currently serving as the Connections and Change Presbytery. As you've heard, the Transitions Working Group has put a lot of energy and prayer and thought into discerning how the Synod can invest in its future by encouraging its presbyteries and congregations in ministry and mission. As Mika told you, we believe that resourcing networks and partnerships formed across the Synod around common passions and purpose is one way to accomplish that. We also believe that while we do have some faithful volunteers around the Synod who share this vision and are certainly willing and able to offer support, we really do need the dependability and the accountability of paid staff for this new way forward to be successful. As described in the document, we envision a staff of 3 individuals whom we are calling Synod networkers. These networkers are people who will be deployed in different geographical areas of the Synod to encourage and facilitate the development of networks, to help the networks get the resources that they need, and to serve as liaisons between the network members and the Synod Council. Networks will be people who will travel within their own regions, watching and listening for where the passion and the energy bubbles up around a particular area of ministry, and then help connect individuals and congregations to engage together as a network. Each networker will be in very close contact with the other 2 networkers, allowing broader connections to occur all throughout the Synod. Now, 2 of the networkers will be full-time, focused exclusively on the work that I just described, and will be funded through the mission budget. The 3rd position will split his or her time between the networker role and the head of staff and facilitator of the Synod's overall mission, and will be funded through the administrative budget. We feel that it's important to point out that while those first 2 Synod networkers will be ultimately under the supervision of the head of staff, Synod leader, they are not associate Synod executives. Rather, the 3 staff members will all work together as a team to facilitate and create the supportive networks that further the overall mission of the Synod. Now, some of you may be wondering, but how can these networkers really further the Synod's mission and ministry? Well, as you know, most of our presbytery leaders, the EPs, GPs, transitional leaders, presbytery leaders, whatever they're called, they would love to be able to spend more of their time, or even most of their time, relating to individuals and churches who are excited and engaged in their communities and who want to serve the larger church by connecting with others who share their passion. But the reality is that presbytery leaders, and in most of our presbyteries that's 1 person, mostly get sucked into doing other stuff. The anxiety and dealing with anxiety and conflict, dealing with struggling congregations, all those administrative tasks and crises of one kind or another, which leaves them barely enough time to even answer their emails. These Synod networkers will help presbytery leaders by doing some of the relating and the facilitating of connections, so that new ideas for ministry can really gather the critical mass of people, power, and resources that they need to get started. The Transitions Working Group is very excited about this new staffing model. We think it's pretty simple and straightforward, and that it makes a lot of sense. And we think it can really work well to help move the Synod of the Northeast forward in a new way. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Hilton, and I am the Hunger Action Enabler for the Hudson River Presbyterian. Before I get started, I would just say, prior to receiving a phone call from first Rhonda and then from Harold, I had never even heard of the Synod. I didn't know anything about the Synod, what you did, or even that you existed. But it was thrilling for me when I realized that a critical part of this new way forward was missions. Because what I do, what I love to do, is focused on mission. And so this piece of New Way Forward is really talking about how the Synod about the overarching missional works of the Synod. So there are several areas, of course, one of which is to develop and pursue our common missional purposes, in part through networks and other things. But early on, in the work of the Transitions Working Group, it was identified that diversity and the strength of our emerging leaders programs were things that we really wanted to support and to hold up. And so that continues to be a value and an area that will be elevated as we move forward. Leadership also in general. The current programs such as Collegium, mission for missional leaders and presbytery staff, and other opportunities for leadership and development and growth are things that we will continue to lift up as part of our mission. Creating new innovative models for ministry, an example of which is working with the unchurched. One model that is currently going on in Hudson River right now being the NIAC project, looking for innovative areas that we can include new worshiping communities. Campus and higher education ministries. Again, this is some work that we have been doing, but now we're looking at doing in a slightly new way by supporting congregations in campus communities, allowing for more resources to go towards those congregations so that they can begin to build out their relationships with college campuses. And of course, we will continue to support the work of mission as youth work, which is one of the Presbyterian's long-standing mission projects.